Hello everyone, and welcome to another review. This time it's on a fragrance from the designer house of Gucci called Made to Measure. Now this fragrance was released in 2013, the parent company of which is Procter & Gamble, and this is classified as an Oriental spicy fragrance. Now this is marketed as a fall of 2013 release. Of course, we are still in the summer. I don't believe fall officially starts until the 22nd of September. I think this fragrance is intended to be worn in the fall, but essentially it is a summer release. Now this fragrance follows the success of the very popular Gucci Guilty Black, released just a few months ago, and I don't mean popular in terms of the fact that it has been favorably received in online fragrance communities or anything like that, because it certainly has not. I mean popular in terms of sales. That fragrance, as a matter of fact, has sold very well. As a matter of fact, if you have been in a department store anytime within the past few months, you would know that sales associates are still pushing that fragrance, as well as the original Gucci Guilty and the Intense version to that fragrance. Now this fragrance, Made to Measure, is bottled in the original Gucci by Gucci bottle, which kind of gives off the impression that this is either going to be a similar smelling fragrance or a flanker to that fragrance even. Just bear in mind that those two fragrances, in terms of their smell, do not bear any similarities. The original Gucci by Gucci features notes of tobacco and cypress, whereas this fragrance features or highlights the note of lavender. But I do think that this fragrance's smell bears similarities with that of Gucci Guilty. I'll get a little bit more in detail about that later on. Now, the name Made to Measure, if you've seen the advertisement campaign for this fragrance, you would know that the face is yet again James Franco, and this time he's in a suit and tie. This fragrance is supposed to fit your skin like a custom-made suit, like a suit that was tailored to your size. And I think that the smell does have somewhat of a bespoke or custom-made quality about it that allows the fragrance to be worn very comfortably. I'll let you guys know what I think that is in just a bit. Next up, let's take a look at the presentation for Made to Measure. Made to Measure is available in 3 sizes, 30, 50, and 90 milliliters. The one that you're looking at here is the big size, the 90 milliliter bottle, and this fragrance is only available in Eau de Toilette concentration. First up, let's take a look at the box. What you're going to get from this box is a traditional Gucci diamante pattern encompassing the entire perimeter of the box. I believe this pattern has been out since the 1930s. Over here in the front, you have the name of the company, Gucci's signature below that, and then the name of the fragrance in a smaller font written even further down below that. Some information down here at the bottom, and then on the front here, you have this vertical high luster gold stripe, which is the web stripe, also iconic to the brand. I believe it's found in a lot of their handbags. It makes its way up and then actually follows through into the reverse side of the box. Kind of cool, but that's pretty much it as far as the box goes. Now, as far as the bottle for this fragrance goes, like I said, it does resemble the original Gucci by Gucci bottles, which kind of gives off the impression that this is going to be a similar smelling fragrance. Just keep in mind it's not. Over here on the front of the bottle, you have the same design that's going on the front of the box. You have a sticker down here at the bottom with some more information like the serial number, which should coincide with the one found on the bottom of the box. You have this purple juice on the inside with a very thick, sturdy glass. I actually like that. The cap is metallic. And over here, right below this horse bit apparatus, you have the name of the company engraved into the cap. It says Gucci, nice little touch. The inside of the cap is actually a plastic insert, and that's what allows this cap to click into place very securely, thus allowing you to lift it up from the cap without any fears of it coming apart. Now, the atomizer on this fragrance does not work particularly well. It doesn't spray out enough juice relative to the concentration of the fragrance. However, it does not dribble, and you're not going to get the best distribution, but it certainly gets the job done. And that has pretty much been the presentation for Made to Measure by Gucci. Now, what the smell of this fragrance reminds me of is you're sitting in a car with a leather interior, and you just so happen to drive by a field of lavender. And in the backseat of that car, you have a basket with plums inside. Those are really the 3 notes that you're going to get from this fragrance that really have most prominent of a mention, or that are going to come across more strongly than the other notes do. As far as the smell, this fragrance opens up with a little bit of bergamot. Now, what I think the bergamot note in this fragrance does, it kind of adds that generic kind of appeal to the composition. It gives it that traditional smell that really allows this fragrance to smell like other fragrances that you've smelled before. It opens it up in a very traditional fashion. However, that bergamot note is fleeting, and you're not really going to get it in this fragrance after the first 10 minutes or so. After that, it starts to dry down. You're only going to get the remnants of that citrus. Now, there is another citrus note in this fragrance, which is that of orange blossom. However, I feel like that note comes across as a bit more floral than it does citrusy. As a matter of fact, I don't really get any citrus nuances from that note. this fragrance does become a little bit floral as it dries down, especially in combination with that lavender note that you get from this fragrance. However, at no point does it get too floral to the point where it comes across smelling feminine or anything like that. I think this is generally a very masculine smelling fragrance. Now, as it starts to dry down, that lavender note really starts to come through, and it's coupled with a note that I really think is the redeeming factor in this fragrance, and that is the note of plum. Now, I do want to get across that the plum note contained in this fragrance doesn't really come across smelling too fruity or gourmandish or anything like that. It comes across smelling rather inorganic, but it does provide just a little bit of sweetness to the composition. There are also two other notes listed as notes in this fragrance that could be potentially sweet, but I don't really smell them too much. Those are the notes of cinnamon and anise. Now, anise is of course a type of spice which has an odor profile similar to that of licorice. So it's spicy, but it's sweet at the same time. And maybe I get a little bit of that in the opening, but I think the majority of the sweetness that you're going to get from this fragrance comes from the plum. Now, as this fragrance starts to dry down, the leather note really starts to come out. Now, it's so mildly concentrated and it's used in such a low, modest, and muted amount in this fragrance that I think if somebody didn't read that it was listed as a note in this fragrance, they could potentially overlook it. And I feel like it plays such a subtle role in this composition that it very well could be overlooked. It doesn't come across as raw, aggressive, or animalic. So if that's the type of leather that you're expecting, that's not what you're going to get from this fragrance. Instead, it comes across very smooth, almost like a very well preserved leather. Now, this is an amber-based fragrance, and the reason I throw that out there is because many amber-based fragrances add more of an intention on the note of vanilla, which is used in the combination of that accord. Now, this fragrance does not add an emphasis on the vanilla note because the only sweetness that you're going to get from this fragrance, in my opinion, is from the plum. This amber accord adds more of an emphasis on the note of labdanum. Labdanum is a type of resin that has a naturally sweet smell, almost vanillic, but it has a resinous smell with a leathery quality as well. So the leathery quality of the labdanum, I think, very well complements that of the actual leather note contained in this fragrance. And I think the combination of those two notes work very well together. Overall, I would say that this is a very well blended fragrance, as it's hard to pick up on all of the individual notes contained within it. Now, like I said, it opens up citrusy with a little bit of fruity sweetness. It doesn't come across as overly fruity, and definitely not gourmand. It dries down to that leathery quality, almost balmy. Not necessarily powdery, but it does come across as smooth, very well preserved. And then it has this woody backbone, which is very familiar and bears similarities to other fragrances, especially that of Gucci Guilty. Now, Gucci Guilty also contains lavender, cedarwood, and orange blossom, which I feel is what allows the comparisons to be made with that fragrance in this one. The cedarwood is what I think really allows this fragrance to spill a little bit more over into masculine territory. It comes across very dry, very smooth, and it's also complemented with a little bit of nutmeg, which also gives it that spicy, not so culinary, but dry quality, and I think it adds to the overall smoothness of this fragrance. So the bottom line for this fragrance is you're going to get a smell that's very complimented. You're going to get a smell that smells very good. It's mass marketed, so it is going to appeal to a wide variety of people. However, you're not going to be able to pick up on all of the individual notes, and I think that they're very well blended in such a way that the interplay is very modest, and neither one really stands out with the exception of the lavender note, which I think plays the most prominent role in this fragrance. Now, in terms of compliments or complaints, this fragrance is definitely going to land you a compliment. The batting average for this fragrance on me has been 100%. I have worn this fragrance I think about 7 times now, and every single time I've worn it, it has not failed to land me a compliment. So this will definitely get you positive attention. And lastly, have I worn this fragrance outside of testing? No, but that's only because I just finished testing. I will be wearing this fragrance because, like I said, it can be worn very comfortably because it does have this sort of understated quality about it. You smell good without necessarily smelling like you're trying to smell good, because all of the notes play a very modest role in this fragrance, I think, but it does have this generic appeal about it, and it smells similar to other fragrances, so please keep that in mind. But I will be wearing this one in the future. So guys, thanks for watching. Last up, we have the rating. Thanks again. First up, we have uniqueness and overall smell, and I ended up giving this fragrance a 5 out of 10. I don't think that this is a unique fragrance, especially since it bears so many similarities to other fragrances that have preceded it, and I also don't think it's innovative or that it takes any compositional risks. However, I do think it's very well blended, not necessarily well balanced, being that that lavender note really does steal the spotlight in this fragrance. However, it's a very easy to wear fragrance, very appealing, it's bound to land you a lot of compliments, and it's made to appeal to a wide variety of people. However, I don't think that fixatives were utilized very successfully in this fragrance due to the fact that it doesn't last as long as it potentially could have. So I ended up giving it a 5 out of 10 for uniqueness and overall smell. Next up we have longevity, and I also gave this fragrance a 5 out of 10. This is an Eau de Toilette concentration, so it's expected to last anywhere from 4 to 6 hours on your skin. I usually get about 5 hours every time I wear this fragrance, and for me that's just average, so I ended up giving it a 5 out of 10 for longevity. Next up we have projection, and I also gave this fragrance a 5 out of 10. This fragrance projects or radiates off your skin just a little bit below an arm's length, and that's only for the first hour and a half to 2 hours of application. After it exceeds that 2-hour mark, it really starts to sit closer to the skin and it becomes a skin scent, so I would say that's average projection. I ended up giving it a 5 out of 10. Next up we have versatility, and I ended up giving this fragrance a 9 out of 10. I don't think that this is a unisex fragrance because the nutmeg and the woods really allow this fragrance to spill a little bit more over into masculine territory, but I think it's a very versatile fragrance in terms of social scenarios. This fragrance is affordable enough so that you can afford to wear it casually, and this makes a great formal and semi-formal fragrance. However, I don't see this one being a great night out fragrance, especially because it doesn't have too much of a sweetness that would give it that playful quality that would make it appropriate for either a clubbing or a partying fragrance, but I can't see this one being worn very comfortably on a date. Now, this is an all-season fragrance. You can wear it in the colder weather, you can wear it in the hotter weather, you can also wear it in the daytime or the nighttime, so that's very good versatility. I give it a 9 out of 10. And last up we have presentation. I already told you guys what I feel about that. I ended up giving it a 7 out of 10 for presentation, and that brings this fragrance to an overall rating or an average score of 6.2 out of 10. So guys, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching. That was my review of Gucci's Made to Measure. Please don't forget to comment, rate, and subscribe for future videos and frequent giveaways. Also, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please feel free to shoot me a message. I will try to get back to you as soon as I can. So again, guys, thank you so much for watching. This has been Steven with another review. Thanks again.